Hello, it's Dr. Kim Clover again, and I'm here today to talk to you about good communication skills. I feel like bad communication is the basis of all problems in relationships. Maybe that's going a little far, but most of our problems can be dated back to or looked back to the problem of communication. So if we can improve our communication skills, many of us will improve our relationships. So today I want to talk to you about good communication and how you can improve on your communication skills and see improvement in your relationships. So let's look at the two roles of communication. There are talkers and there are listeners. Most of us are really good at talking, but few of us are good at listening. So let's talk about what each of those roles has to do to have effective communication. First, the talker. I statements, direct and to the point about the situation at hand, and eye contact. Now that may be difficult because many people communicate today by texting or emails or maybe even something else like Snapchat. So what if that is not good communication? If there's a problem or a need, I think it's important that we talk face-to-face, preferably, or by telephone if not. So that is really helpful if we can have one-on-one contact. So, good talker, I statements, not you statements. Direct and to the point about the situation at hand, eye contact, and in the presence of that person. The talker is to listen without interruption, eye contact, and then make sure that you understood by restating what you heard. This is the goal of good communication, understanding the other person. If both parties are trying to understand the other person, communication takes place. But how often do we try to make sure we were understood? And oftentimes, instead of listening, we are gathering ammunition to throw back when it's our turn to talk. So avoid not listening. Avoid gathering ammunition. Avoid attacking. And really see if you can listen well and understand. Now, once you've understood and that person feels that you've understood, it's your turn to talk. And again, you switch roles. And when the other person has listened and they've understood you, and you have listened and understood them, oftentimes you can come to the middle ground and have a compromise, or maybe you'll just have to agree to not agree. And that can be difficult as well. However, communication takes place when you have understood the other person. So if we're going to avoid the attacks, make sure that you don't say, you always do this and you always do that. When we do, we put that person on the defense. And once the other person's on the defense, communication stops. So, one of the other things that is helpful is validating. Even if you don't agree with that person, you can validate them. One of my favorite stories is when my daughter of 3 called me up the stairs to check on the boogeyman. And the worst thing I wanted to do, or the last thing I wanted to do, was get off that couch and go up those steps. However, I knew as long as I sat on the couch, she was going to continue to cry. I went up there, we looked around, I validated her by letting her feel like I understood where she was coming from. And once we saw that there were no boogeymen, she went to sleep and it was fine. So we shape each other. If you tell a child or a parent or a spouse that you're not going to listen by the way you react to them, they are going to quit talking to you. So when a child tells you something, listen. Don't immediately react. When your mate calls you, don't shut him down. Listen. And when we listen and we respond, often good communication takes place. So let's talk about responding and not reacting. When you respond, it is logical. And when you react to another person, it is emotional. So, responses are good, reactions are typically not so good when it comes to good communication. So, what we're going to say about that is when your husband calls and says, I'm going to be late for dinner, a reaction is to holler and scream and say, what's wrong with you? Why can't you figure out how to get home on time? Not good. A response would be, well, how long will it be? Should we wait on you? Let me turn off the stove and we'll stay put for another 30 minutes. When you respond, they keep talking to you. When you react, they're going to stop talking, and that shapes the relationship. My husband called in that situation one night, and I basically reacted and said, well, what's wrong? Why can't you get home on time? The dinner's ready. It's going to be burnt. I gave him a list of attacks, and guess what? The next night, when he was going to be late, he didn't call. So, if I want people to talk to me, if I want people to communicate with me, I'm going to respond and not react. So good communication, you're working on understanding that other person. You're working to validate them even when you don't totally agree. And you're going to work on shaping the relationship so that we understand each other and we continue talking to each other. Now, if you have trouble with this, it takes practice. Most people do not respond first. Our knee-jerk feeling and instinct is to react. So, step back, think, breathe, and from an I perspective, say how I feel about the situation or how I'm thinking about the situation. That is a response. A reaction is usually a you statement, and it is emotional, and it goes something like this. You never do anything right. You always forget my birthday. You never ask me out on a date. Whatever the situation, it's usually an absolute and it's an attack. And when we attack in relationships, defensiveness goes high, communication goes low. I hope this has been helpful, but if you need more information on good communication, tune back in. I'm going to be talking next time on beyond responding and reacting and how to do better with that scenario. There is a book out there that I'd highly recommend, and it's called 4 Essential Keys to Effective Communication. And that book is written by Bento, Leal. I've added the description or the link in my description down below, and you can just click on it and go straight to Amazon and get that book. Good communication's tough. Stay after it, and I think you'll find that it really does improve your relationships. I hope this has helped. Don't forget, subscribe or like this conversation that we've had today. Anytime you have a chance, that helps me out. Take care. See you next time.